Now, my guest, Chief Robert Clarke, really needs no introduction. He's one of the most respected lawyers in the country today after having practiced for over 30 years. In this interview, he shares his perspective about some of the issues up for discussion at the national conference. I began the interview, though, by asking him about the security challenges facing the country and how best it can be tackled, especially against the background of calls in some quarters for the federal government to replace the political institutions in the troubled states with the military.
The Constitution of Nigeria as it is today does not permit for it. What the Constitution permits is for a declaration of emergency in the first instance for a period of 6 months. And it must be based on a request by the President to the National Assembly, who will look into all its ramifications and then declare a state of emergency for 6 months. After 6 months, the President must come back to the House. If the situation has not improved, he might ask for an extension. That is what the Constitution is for. But to replace the government in that state, the Constitution says a government can only be replaced by the provisions under this Constitution. Nobody has the right to change any government in Nigeria except in accordance with the provisions of this Constitution. There is no provision in the Constitution that allows the federal government to oust the democratic government elected by the people in a state and replace it with the military. It is unconstitutional. If it happens, that government that is being replaced will go to court.
Talking about this security challenge, do you support the call in some quarters that governors should be given greater roles to play in the provision of securities in their states? That means, for example, making the police authorities in the state report and take orders from the state governors.
That area is a highly politicized area. Whether we should have state police, whether we should have a centralized police. I don't want to go into that area because I am not a politician. But I can assure you that whatever will bring sanity.
You don't think that will bring sanity?
No, whatever will bring sanity, I will accept it. But we have in our hands a position today that there is a breakdown of law and order virtually in all parts of Nigeria today. Let's be honest. It's not only Boko Haram that is our problem in Nigeria today. There are many other problems that are even worse than Boko Haram. I remember the presidency through Doyin Okupe 4 weeks ago raised an alarm about the sabotaging of gas pipes in Nigeria and elevated it to a position worse than Boko Haram. And to be honest with you, I believe he's correct. Because if you have pipelines that will generate gas for electricity turbines to work, and people are deliberately going down 9 feet in the ground to sabotage it for no purpose, because they cannot tap it, they cannot sell it, then it's as bad a situation as the Boko Haram situation. Because to be honest, security is not a centralized matter.
So then you agree that
security is the devil within ourselves, in our street, in our village. And only those of us who stay in the streets and village know those who are the devils amongst us. So it's still better if the control of these devils are given to the people who live in the neighborhood.
So that sounds like an argument for the state.
Yes, but I don't. That it's a highly politicized matter, and I think these are the things the new national conference will look into.
Now, it's interesting that you've brought in the national conference. One of the issues before the national conference is devolution of power. It's an issue that has come out of the proceedings. How do you think that power should be shared, and how powerful should the federal government be?
You see, the wish of the people is the most important thing in the development of every country. I am happy that Mr. President has now agreed that whatever decision is taken at the conference will go for a referendum. But my problem is this. With the greatest respect to Mr. President, he has failed to lay a legal basis upon which any decision of this conference comes round to do can be hinged upon.
Is it too late for him to do that?
It is becoming late because of the utterances I'm hearing from my good junior brother Ndomayagba about 4 days ago. When Mr. President flew the kite that the decision of the conference would go for a referendum, the National Assembly's leader said, look, we don't mind. But of course, when it goes to referendum, it has to come to us again for approval. That is where we are going to have problem in Nigeria. I am telling you, I am seeing the dark cloud. Whatever decision this conference agrees upon in 3 or 4 months' time, if they make the mistake, it goes to referendum, and it drastically changes the system of governance we have today. This National Assembly will never approve it. They will never approve it. And that is the dark cloud we have hanging over our heads in this country. The earlier we sit down quickly before the end of the conference to agree with the National Assembly that whatever decision that goes to referendum and the voice of the people speak and they approve it, they have no alternative than to accept it. If they can pass a bill now, if Mr. President can send a private bill quickly now to them that, look, whatever this conference decides upon, I'm sending it to referendum, and I want you to pass a bill that whatever it is, once the people say yes, you are bound by it. Then God help Nigeria. We won't have problem. But if he does not do so, and hearing what Ndomayagba is saying, there's going to be problem. Because I do not see any human being that will find that his own status quo is being undermined will agree to such, an incident going on.